I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliet.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry.
Hi, everybody. This is Apologies Accepted, the podcast. And we've had some technical issues, but we're getting back in the swing of things. So I'm not Theo, even though we had technical issues. I'm still not Theo, and I think you're not Juliet, if I'm correct.
Let me pinch myself. Delicious. No, I am Theo.
So, yay. What's shaking, bacon?
A whole bunch of no Thanksgiving anymore because we had that, and it was great and fun. So what a wonderful holiday. And now we are in our Christmas season. And sort of, I guess, loosely, our episode today could arguably be a Christmas episode.
Sure. Why not? It could be a pre-Christmas episode.
Well, I mean, the Balenciaga ad campaign was Toy Store, right? Was it Toy Store or Gift Shop? That was it, Gift Shop. So,
yeah.
Fair enough. I'm reaching, I'm grabbing, I'm stretching, just like Balenciaga. And
that's right.
Yeah, so it's our Christmas episode, but yeah, I'll say like just a bunch of nothing, which is great. So we went out to Palm Springs for Thanksgiving. We stayed with my friend Terry.
Yay.
And then I'll tell a story on myself. So Terry bought some very expensive wine. We bought a couple of bottles of very expensive wine.
Nice.
And I'll say way more expensive than I have ever had in my life before. Which makes it sound like it was very expensive. $150 a bottle. Right?
Yeah.
And okay. I typically drink anything from $5 to about $12 a bottle. Right?
Uh-huh. Okay.
And fair. Comfortable with that. I like wine. Great, whatever. And so anyway, Terry was like, "Oh, I got this really expensive wine for Thanksgiving and let's open a bottle and let's have it." Right. And I had just arrived and I was like, "Oh, Terry, that's sweet. Thank you. But no, I don't want, it's not, let's just get a cheap wine." He was like, No. Let's go ahead and do it. You're here. You've just arrived. It's a special occasion." And I was like, "This is great. Real generous, lovely." And I had some of the wine and I was like, it's nice. But I don't know if it's 30 times nicer than my $5 wine. Right? It's nicer, but is it worth $150? And so we had a taste test and we opened a $12 bottle of wine. And I put that swill on my lips and I could not believe I have ever ingested such liquid garbage. I am shocked and appalled. So now I can only drink $150 bottles of wine.
I hope you got the name and the brand and everything so you can start buying it.
I'm not going to spend $150 a bottle. You were talking to somebody who, when Charles Shaw came out, $2 check, right? It was $2. I lived my life at that time by, I could get the CD for $18, but that's 9 bottles of Charles Shaw. Now, I want to give up 9 bottles of Charles Shaw. So yeah, I am nobody to be talking about wine and wine connoisseurship.
But at least you could tell the difference between the $150 bottle and the cheaper bottle.
Oh, yes.
After you'd had it.
Oh, yes. After you've had it and when they're next to each other. Now, if you came up to me today and you gave me a glass of $12 wine and you were like, "Here you go," it was $150, I'd be like, "Thanks." But I wouldn't know that it was or wasn't. So, yes, I learned something about myself. And what about you? What's shaking bacon?
I went to Death Valley. I almost said Palm Springs. I went to Death Valley for Thanksgiving with my husband, and we stayed at a pretty nice hotel. It was fine. And we saw the sights of Death Valley. So all the things that you see in the TV commercials and stuff, we saw a bunch of those. And it was nice. I mean, it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't fabulous. It was nice. I had a good time. I don't know what I expected, but for some reason I had really been looking forward to it. Like it was going to be this great thing. And it was just like, it was fine. So I don't know. It was fine. I had a good time. No complaints.
Other than it was just a time.
It wasn't fantastic. But we had some nice meals, and the restaurant had a nice like outdoor patio that we got to sit on and eat a meal. So it was fine. And I've lost a little bit more weight, which is nice. Finally, God, it's fucking taken forever. But
congratulations.
So even though Thanksgiving, I managed to lose about 4 pounds.
Wow.
So that was good. Have you
easily gained 4 pounds over Thanksgiving? I had a whole pumpkin pie over the course of 2 days.
That's easy to do.
Very easy to do.
I love pumpkin pie. Yeah, so that's that. Pretty much that's that for me, I think. I was going to say something else, but I've completely forgotten what. Oh, I'm getting a new countertop. The guy is coming out to look at my kitchen counter today to see if he'll even, deign to take on the work or whatever.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to be a small job or if it's going to turn out to be an entire kitchen remodel, because, the countertop is going to lead to the cabinets, it's going to lead to this, it's going to lead to that. And then pretty soon we're getting everything completely redone down to the studs in the wall. So who knows? Hopefully it'll just be the countertops, because I don't have it in me to do much more than that right now. But we'll see it. I don't know anything about countertops. I was doing some research last night, and it seems like quartz might be the way to go.
Oh, sure.
But I have no idea. What do you have on your countertops?
I don't know, because we're renting, and so it's not for mica, but it's also it's some weird 1950s material. It's probably radioactive, but it looks like a solid poured piece, and so quartz would be the way to go. It's basically what everybody's using, and they pour it into a mold, and so it's real important when they're taking the measurements that they
do it correctly.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's their problem. I'm not going to worry about that.
It holds up well. I'll tell you off air, because there are problems with quartz.
All right, you can let me know outside the podcast.
Yes.
Probably we don't have quartz fans or whatever here.
No, can you imagine?
To learn about quartz. Can you tell us more about quartz, Theo and Julia?
I can, because it depends on the thickness of the material, right? And so the lesser costs, the least expensive ones, are thin, and those chip pretty easily, because when they pour, there's microscopic air bubbles that get caught in the mold. And so those pop off and flake out. And a certain amount of that is air quotes around normal, right?
Yeah.
But like we're talking 2 or 3 to 5 little tiny, you might not even ever notice them. And so we had an IKEA kitchen put in, and I had a quarter size one that appeared, and I was like, hey guys, come on.
Oh, wow.
And
that's a bit much.
It was big, and it was like, anyway, we'll just let it go, because it doesn't matter. What I will say is, good choice. Quartz will hold up.
Okay, good. Thank you.
If you get above a certain thickness, and because we went with IKEA, it was cheap.
1/4 inch thickness.
Good. We got something that was in millimeters.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was thinking maybe 1.5 inches or something, but I don't know. Anyway,
so enough about that.
Today? Let's
go from design to design, from kitchen design to designers.
Oh, you're so clever.
Behaving badly. It's all I'm known for.
So about Balenciaga and design, as you so nicely queued us up, somebody named Demna has been artistic director of Balenciaga, which is, of course, a luxury fashion brand, since 2015. And in that time, he's done various things that the fashion industry is considered, well, maybe not the fashion industry, but people, the consumers, have considered controversial, including putting heels on Crocs, which I didn't realize he had done. I only know about that because of that guy, Chris, on TikTok, who wears the Crocs with heels as kind of a joke. But I didn't realize that was Balenciaga, which it is. And also, I think he had a fashion campaign in which on the runway, the models carried these gigantic trash bags made out of leather. They were really expensive for whatever reason. So, I mean, honestly, this whole story irritates me and annoys me, because it's so unimportant and it's so ridiculous, and I think it's just silly. But that said, recently, Demna may have gone too far with a campaign featuring pictures of 2 young girls carrying teddy bear handbags, and the teddy bears are wearing bondage gear. So this happened in mid-November, in a campaign called Balenciaga Gift Shop, which was shot by Gabriele Galimberti, who's an Italian documentary photographer. So Galimberti did not select the items in the shoot or the location. That was done by Balenciaga, and undoubtedly carefully screened and approved both beforehand and afterwards. And Galimberti says that he was told at the time that the theme of the shoot was punk. So, okay, whatever. I don't know. I haven't really seen pictures of I guess pictures have been scrubbed from the internet of the campaign. I did see a couple pictures of people carrying teddy bear handbags, but I think it was like one of the, what are those models' names? Hadid, one of the Hadid.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She's obviously not a toddler. So, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, one of the Hadid girls. I was going to say. One of the
Hadid girls.
Bella or Gigi. And how sad that I know the names.
I know the names, but I couldn't tell you which was which. So soon after that campaign, people started objecting to the juxtaposition of bondage gear and children, which makes sense. I don't know what Galimberti was thinking when he shot the theme. I know he was told that the theme of the shoot was punk. I'm sure that he and Demna both thought that this was going to be some edgy thing. Let's, like I said, let's juxtapose the innocence of children with S&M or punk, and let's make this really edgy and get some attention. So they should have known better. They didn't know better. Nobody told them not to do it. Maybe nobody could tell them not to do it. And then on November 21st, a separate Balenciaga campaign was released, the Garderobe campaign, which included shots of paperwork from a Supreme Court decision on child pornography laws as a prop. So there was a picture of a $3,000 Balenciaga handbag, which, to be honest, is not that expensive a luxury handbag, sitting on an office desk with printed copies of the Supreme Court's 2008 decision in U.S. v. Williams, which is a case that examined whether laws banning the pandering or promoting of child pornography curtailed First Amendment freedom of speech rights. So, I don't know. Was that intentional? Probably not, in my opinion. They probably just had what they said was they had a bunch of so-called fake office documents that they were using in this campaign, and it just happened to be this U.S. v. Williams decision. So, okay, you might want to look into what you're putting in your ad campaigns, but right. I don't think it was intentional. I don't think they're coming for our children, basically.
I got a whole thing on that. So you keep believing that.
Okay.
You keep believing
that. All right. So Lauren Cole, who's a veteran makeup artist and former Paris-based model, told The Post that people in the industry often want to push the envelope and be what they think is cool and edgy, but they don't think things through and nobody will tell them no. Balenciaga apologized for the gift shop campaign on November 24th, saying, "We sincerely apologize for any offense our holiday campaign may have caused. Our plush bear bags should not have been featured with children in this campaign. We have immediately removed the campaign from all platforms." And then hours later, they apologized for the Garderobe campaign with the U.S. v. Williams court case picture, claiming the parties responsible for creating the set were to blame and that unapproved items were included in the photo shoot. "We strongly condemn abuse of children in any form. We stand for children's safety and well-being," they said. I don't know how a fashion house can stand for children's safety and well-being, but
no, you use them to make clothing.
Exactly. Balenciaga then filed a $25 million lawsuit against the production company and designer of the Garderobe campaign, alleging inexplicable acts and omissions that were, quote, malevolent or at the very least extraordinarily reckless. But they have since dropped that lawsuit because obviously they took part and approved everything beforehand. Olga Liriano, who spent years in the fashion industry as a model, booker, photo director, and top magazine editor, said it is ridiculous to think Demna and the top echelon at Balenciaga didn't know what the campaigns were going to look like once they were photographed.
No, Balenciaga, you have a whole concept. Sorry to jump in there, but you have a whole concept board before you.
Yeah.
Everything is mapped out by illustration before you. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
And you don't just put random pieces of paper in it, in my opinion. But, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
It depends. But these things are typically tightly controlled down to a level of, should the text on the document be facing upside right or right side down? Right.
And what should the font be? I'm sure.
Exactly.
I'm sure all that is considered.
How much white space is appearing on that document because color balance, blah, 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 blah. I say blah, 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 but I know these things.
Absolutely. Balenciaga says the copies of the court case were supposed to be fake office documents, but on November 28th, Balenciaga said that it took full accountability for our lack of oversight and control and could have done things differently. Balenciaga added, "Our plush bear bags and the gift collection should not have been featured with children. This was a wrong choice by Balenciaga. Combined with our failure in assessing and validating images, the responsibility for this lies with Balenciaga alone." However, Mr. Galimberti says he has received death threats and has had jobs canceled as a result of his work on the campaign. I mean, that's his own fault, honestly. On November 28th, the trade publication Business of Fashion revoked an award it was going to give Demna, saying it held the safety of children in the highest regard. And there are no longer plush bondage bear handbags for sale on the Balenciaga website, which is good because they were ugly anyway.
No, I'm going to say boo, boo. Now I want one. I want to.
Did you look at them?
I did. No, I mean, I looked at the two photos that are available online that are from the ad campaign. Apparently, there's a number of other photos that are harder to get to. Don't care that much to go running through the internet looking for them. And the bags were stupid. But yeah. I think all high fashion is stupid because I like sweatshirts and t-shirts and jeans, and that's all I wear. So of course, I think it's stupid, right?
Right.
It was a bunch of very, very highly creative people who got together in a creative tornado of creativity, and here's where they landed.
Right. And I'm sure that nobody said no. Nobody said this is a bad idea, even if they thought it. Nobody wanted to be the one to say, oh, your artistic skills are not holding up here. You're not thinking this through because the people involved are so famous and so rich that you're just not going to say. You're not going to be the assistant director or the assistant, whatever, saying no.
You're not going to be the
designer.
Even if you're the intern of the photographer, right?
Yeah.
Look, you're not going to say anything because and what do you know? Maybe this is wildly creative and maybe it'll take off.
Right.
So, I'm sure a lot of people around them just kept their mouths shut. I would like to think that if I walked onto a set and I saw a 4-year-old holding a teddy bear dressed in S&M gear, that I might, and of course the children's parents are on set, right? There's a legal guardian who's on set to ensure the child's personal welfare, right? Then just grab a kid off the street and take photographs of that kid.
Right.
So even if the parent is okay with it, I'd like to think that I would be the person who would say, isn't this kind of stupid? Aren't we possibly going to upset some people?
Close to...
Aren't you playing into? Yeah. But also, I don't like kids. So if I walked into a place, I think the whole
thing is dumb.
Yeah, it is stupid. It gets dumber. So let's
hear about it.
Oh, okay, great. So let's take off. So for this work, or for this episode, I thought I'll listen to some podcasts. I'll get like the Balenciaga story and understand what's going on. Sure, I could read about it, but I've got housework to do. So let me put in my AirPods and entertain myself. And what I quickly discovered was the only podcast that I could find were all right-wing creators, right? Talking about this situation, Balenciaga, right? And within 3 seconds, everybody is immediately to pedophiles, the pedophile ring, Satanists, right? There's an organized group of very powerful people in the world who are letting the public know through discrete symbols that are buried in advertisements, right? That we're here and we are pedophiles, we're satanic too, and we are going for your children, right? And we want you to get used to it and be comfortable with it. And so we're very softly introducing the idea of pedophilia to everybody. So look at these children holding these bags, right?
Oh my God.
Aren't they sweet? Aren't they delicious looking? I mean, honestly, it just gets to a point that's ridiculous. But I'm going to say the creatives did not help themselves one bit.
No.
So there were 2 ad campaigns, gift shop, and then I forget the other one, like Balenciaga bags. And the Balenciaga bags were like geared towards adults in that there weren't children in these shoots, right? And the idea was supposed to be busy business executive. And that's where the Supreme Court decision on child pornography and free speech was photographed on a desk. It was one document among many, right?
Yeah.
But apparently there were also books in other ad campaigns that were done by a painter who painted children in distress. And by distress, I mean missing arms and covered in blood. And I didn't bother to look for it because it was just like, sure, I get it.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of art out there. And probably if I saw them, if I saw the paintings, I would be like, yep, I can see where that's art, but gross or stupid or whatever. But it's just having all these things together associated with Balenciaga that's lending credence to the right wing to believe that the satanic cabal is out there. And
is that what QAnon is about? The child pornography and Satan
at
and
its
all that
core.
Sort of thing?
Yep. So
is it? Okay.
I don't know if it's a Satan thing, but QAnon is definitely about child abuse, but it's not even about child abuse. It's about Pizzagate. And so the guy who went to the pizza place to shoot it up, right, because there were children in a basement that Hillary Clinton was leading down through some tunnel to drink their blood, right? It's all about politicians and rich celebrities harming children. And really what that is about is, we will say, a conservative mindset that sees the ideas that are put forward by liberal thinkers as dangerous. And so liberal thought is endangering children. However, it's not enough that liberal thought is perhaps influencing. Well, I don't even like the word influencing. It's not enough that liberal thought is offering education to people, right? The critical thought. So it's got to be that it's not that liberals want people to be able to think critically. It's got to be that you want to have sex with children, right?
Right.
We have to make it, your motives can only be evil, right? And what's the most evil? It is pedophilia, right? And so that's how that's how and why these dots are connected. What's going on is a fear that they're losing the culture war. And so what they're doing is whipping up hysteria around absolutely fake things, like there's a cabal of rich, powerful people that want to have sex with children. No, there's a cabal of rich, powerful people who want your children to buy their products. Yeah. So one of the podcasts I listened to, the two guys, where it started off very reasonable, right? I listened to the first 30 minutes and they went through the history of Balenciaga and sort of who some of the people involved in the shoot were, the photographer, what did he do when the controversy broke, right? He distanced himself from it. I was just there to take the pictures. I didn't select the models. I didn't design the set. I just simply showed up and took the photographs, right? Yeah. So yes, absolutely, whatever with that. And I forgot where I was going, because now I'm all about but he was still at fault because he still took the stupid photos and he should have just said, "This makes me comfortable."
The first 30 minutes were simple, or were reasonable.
And then it went to Balenciaga. Over the years has done a number of things that are targeting children. For instance, there was an episode of The Simpsons that was all about Balenciaga. Marge wanted a Balenciaga dress sometime in a distant future. It was a dream of hers to have a beautiful gown, right? And Homer apparently wrote into Balenciaga, and I didn't see the episode, right? I used to love The Simpsons, and so Homer writes in to Balenciaga, and Balenciaga gets confused by his letter, right? And they mail him a dress, and thinking that he's ordered it. And so Marge puts on the dress, and then they find the price tag in the box, and they're like, "Oh my God." And so they send it back, and Marge writes a letter that says something like, "Thank you for sending this dress. Sorry for the mistake, but it was a dream to wear your clothing, if even for 30 seconds. Right? And so that gets to the head of Balenciaga, who I don't know who it was at the time, right? In the real world, because, of course, The Simpsons does that thing where they bring in real world to the cartoon universe. And so the head designer, I don't think it was Demna, but maybe it probably wasn't. Whoever it was, right? Karl Lagerfeld, right? We'll use him, but he had nothing to do with it, I'm sure. So the head designer, Balenciaga, gets this letter from Marge and the return dress, and is so touched that he goes down to Springfield to work with Marge and the family and design clothing for all of them. And then they have this amazing fashion shoot, right? And so, fair enough. The whole episode is about Balenciaga, right? It's not even just Marge wanted a dress, and the head designer shows up on the show, right? Well, The Simpsons is targeting children. And so these two guys, or is geared towards children, right? And I watched The Simpsons from the age that I was 19, hardly a child. And in the 80s, 19 was like being 40. So yeah. And then Oh, there was something else that was stupid. Like, oh, and they designed sneakers, and sneakers are geared towards children or something like that, right?
Oh, God.
And so, dumb. Balenciaga was not on The Simpsons in order to get children used to the brand name so that then Balenciaga could drive around in Balenciaga vans and kidnap children off of the street and sell them into sexual slavery. That's just not a thing that was happening, right? Mm-hmm. It's just that The Simpsons was cultural touchstone, and being included in an episode meant that you were also a cultural touchstone, right? Or at least culturally relevant and important. So just stupid. Yeah. And I will say I listened to 5 shows. Sometimes I would, yeah. Well, not all the way through. Like some of them had like multiple topics. And so I would skip to the Balenciaga part, but each and every one of them ended with liberal Hollywood is trying to groom children for sexual pleasure of a rich cabal of men who are satanic or dabble in Satanism.
Jesus Christ.
One went so far as to say that one of the ad campaigns had like strange symbols from witchcraft drawn around the objects. And probably maybe, right? There were probably some,
I can see that.
Call them rituals, a la witches, right? A drawing that has magical meaning to it, right? Usually they're protective and good luck charms, but whatever, right? And so there were these magical symbols drawn around some of the bags. And, well, this is how they worship their demons, by putting these images out there for innocent people to see. Calm down, everyone.
Yeah,
Nobody
is.
There's no secret message.
Right.
There's no cabal of pedophiles.
Money. It's not about Satan.
It's stupidly creative people just drinking their own Kool-Aid to the point where they're peeing their own Kool-Aid and then drinking it. They're so in love with themselves and I know I took it full circle.
You did.
I did. Circle of life. It's beautiful. So yeah. Anyway, here's what I think was going on, because here's the bit, right? It's like, okay, I get you had a fashion shoot. Great. What was the concept of your fashion shoot? What's the meaning? Because nothing a creative person does is done without meaning and nuance. It means a lot to them. You might look at something and be like, that's a pineapple sitting on a counter. No, it's not. It's the promise of the Garden of Eden, utterly destroyed. It's the last fruit, whatever, right? Whatever you want something to mean, it's great. So they design these things with meaning. Let me introduce you to Demna and his past and where I think the concept of this shoot was going, right?
Okay.
So this is from the New York Times. This is in relation to the garbage bag leather purses that you had mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Demna, Demna, the single name designer of Balenciaga, fled Georgia as a 12-year-old during the country's civil war. The war in the Ukraine, Demna wrote, triggered the pain of a past trauma I have carried in me since 1993, when the same thing happened in my country and I became a forever refugee. Forever, because that's something that stays with you. The fear, the desperation, the realization that no one wants you. He did a controversial shoot. He did a controversial shoot where models carried expensive leather handbags designed to look like large garbage bags as they walked through an enormous snow globe filled with artificial snow. Into the wind struggled men and women clutching faux trash bags seemingly filled with belongings, slipping in spike-heeled boots, clutching big black coats that flew out around them, heads down. A few were shivering in boxer shorts with only towel-like shawls for protection. Long dresses streamed backwards. The music pounded overhead. Lights, bombs, lightning. This flashed in an obscured sky. The collection, originally meant as a commentary on climate change, a theme Demna began exploring before the pandemic, and which he here intended as a meditation on an imaginary future where snow is relegated to the status of a man-made fantasy, became instead an exceptionally powerful response to war. So his initial concept for this fashion show was all about climate change, right?
I see.
And what drove him right? Or apparently a theme that will forever be present in his work because it is forever present in his life and in his mind, is being a refugee and being disregarded and discounted and unwanted. And when you look at the children who are in the Balenciaga gift shop ad, right? And they're done up and not quite punk style, and they're not super made up, but there's makeup on them, right? And they look a little detached, right? That's what's going on. He's talking about, or I should say that's what's going on, because I don't know what his concept for that shoot was, right?
That would make sense, though.
Exactly. These are two dots I can connect by using words out of his own mouth hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say that we'll get to the apology, but, I think all of this could be cleared up quite quickly if he would just say what the original concept of the shoot was intended to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think was going on. I don't think anything nefarious was going on, but let me introduce you to Brittany Venti, who is a 25-year-old from Texas who has a YouTube channel called Saturday Supermodel. And she has, she has a number of followers. I don't know how many, but.
Is it 2 or is it 50 million?
Well, not 50 million. I'll say that. But what I will say, I guess there's no way to know how many followers she has.
No,
It'd be impossible to ever find out. We'd have to call her and ask her. She probably would lie because her first name's Brittany, and you know what those people are like. So she's credited by the Daily Beast as the first person to stir up concern around the Balenciaga ad campaign, the gift store campaign. She was scouting for fashion information to share on her YouTube channel when she tripped over it. And so she released a TikTok, and she released that on November 20th. That particular TikTok video went on to be viewed 3.2 million times. This is from the Daily Beast. Little did Venti know that her November 20th TikTok would have such a resounding effect. Later that day, word of the Balenciaga campaign went mega viral after YouTube commenter Shoe on Head tweeted about it. Shoe on Head was tipped off to the existence of Venti's first video by a fan. The imagery that Shoe on Head tweeted out grabbed the attention of Fox News. That then led to Tucker Carlson doing an episode on it, or a segment on it, by the next day. Sorry, I skipped a step. So, of course, Fox News gets wind of this, and then people start digging into, Balenciaga had some kids holding some sexy teddy bears. Let's see what else is going on. And that's when people tripped over the shoot of the busy business executive who has a $3,000, please, it should be $30,000 bag on the desk, right? Which is right next to this document that's from the Supreme Court that's talking about
child pornography.
Child pornography, thank you. And freedom of speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. And so Libs of TikTok picked that up, and that's a very conservative TikTok creator account. And then Tucker Carlson gets wind of this from Libs of TikTok. So basically, it starts because a 25-year-old fashion, I'll say wannabe influencer, I don't think she's quite at that point yet, caught it, noticed it, put it out there, and then somebody else with a larger audience flags it, and then that gets picked up. But we're moving from YouTube to Twitter to TikTok to mainstream TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a direct pathway. You can connect these dots. The pathway itself doesn't mean anything, except that now any one person can become or can make something go viral, if you will. And maybe Tucker Carlson would have picked this up on his own. Who knows? And it's not Tucker Carlson who solely turned this thing viral, but I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. And so I'll stop there. Let's get to the apology. The more I talk about it, the dumber I feel.
I agree. I feel the same. So the apology, so we have two apologies. The first one was from Demna, and he said, I want to personally apologize for the wrong artistic choice of concept for the gifting campaign with the kids, and I take my responsibility. It was inappropriate to have kids promote objects that had nothing to do with them. As much as I would sometimes like to provide a thought through my work, I would never have an intention to do that with such an awful subject as child abuse that I condemn. Period. I need to learn from this, listen, and engage with child protection organizations too. Know how I can contribute and help on this terrible subject. I apologize to anyone offended by the visuals, and Balenciaga has guaranteed that adequate measure will be taken not only to avoid similar mistakes in the future, but also to take accountability in protecting child welfare in every way we can. So that was Demna's apology. I think it was fine. Balenciaga released a statement taking full responsibility and then released a second statement on December 12th, which listed the actions that they were taking to avoid a similar incident in the future, saying that they were going to donate a, quote, significant fund to organizations and saying that they had reorganized their image department to ensure full alignment with their corporate guidelines. So I think that the Balenciaga apology was actually really good. It was very thorough and it hit all the high notes that we look for. I'm not going to go through them right now, but it took responsibility and said what they're going to do differently and asked for forgiveness and all those things. So I think the Balenciaga apology gets an 8 out of 10, and the Demna apology probably would get 6 out of 10.
Okay. All right. Great. Because I went for an 8 also with the Balenciaga one, right? With the final one, right?
The final one.
The first couple ones were,
kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah. It was like
self-serving.
We're real sorry. Yeah. And the Demna one I gave a 5 because it just felt like that was pretty average. I mean, yeah, of course, if somebody accused you of child abuse, you're going to say, I'm against child abuse. I would not want to meet the person who said, I'm for some forms of child abuse, just not all of them. Do you see the shirt I'm wearing? I think kids have tiny fingers and they sew beautifully. So average for him. And I get it as a wannabe creator myself. Sometimes you just get too excited about your own genius and it's real easy to do what you want. And so, just a bad misstep and stupid.
Yeah,
I did
the
hear
whole thing is stupid.
Interesting theory, though, and these are dots I don't connect. I don't connect the advertising shoot that showed a document from the Supreme Court that was about child pornography and first with this, right? But one of the podcasts I was listening to raised an interesting point. And that was that everything that's in a photo shoot is carefully thought out, measured by lasers for placement. There's light bounce. You shine a light, how much is coming off of it. It's a whole scientific and creative process, right? It's not just some guy that walks in with a camera. And so maybe one of the set designers had a grudge and was like, F you people, I'm going to really give it to you. And I'm going to stick this thing right here. I'm going to get a photo of it. And then, but if it was somebody who had a grudge and put it wasn't even, anymore, a Supreme Court decision is inappropriate. But I don't know that there's anything that's inappropriate about a legal document on a desk, regardless of the subject matter, right? But if it had been a disgruntled employee who did something like that, they would have leaked it, right? They would have made noises. Probably. So the fact that this didn't break until after the internet decided to look at every Balenciaga photo ever to see what messages are there from the cabal about children that they are harming. Yeah. It's stupid. It's all stupid.
And the Supreme Court decision was actually showing that it was against child pornography, not in favor of child pornography.
I know. Who's for child pornography? I mean, I know there are people out there who are so gross. But I mean, honestly, who?
I know.
Who's going to take that case to court?
Who's going to take that stand? Right. Yeah. I think there should be more child pornography. Right. Sure. That's going to work.
This is the clip. Your words just there. That's what will get edited out. And then our show is going to become part of the secret cabal of child abusers who, I mean, calm down, everybody. Calm down.
Calm down.
There's real evil in the world, and children are abused, right?
Children are abused. Let's do something about that instead of looking for where it doesn't exist.
Exactly. It's stupid.
Amen. All right, so I have an apology expected. Are you ready?
A what?
Apology expected. Have you heard that?
Oh, it's my favorite segment. I can't wait. Yes. Please do.
All right. So the San Francisco Police Department was recently given the authorization to use remote-controlled robots for potentially deadly force. We're going to use what we need to use, said Ed Obayash, a Plumas County Sheriff's deputy. It's a delivery platform. That's all it is. And that's all I have. That's enough.
Wow.
It's going to be an apology about that soon. What could possibly go wrong with robots using deadly force? Nothing.
Sorry that we killed that person accidentally who was carrying a Balenciaga shopping bag. We thought it was...
Exactly. So do you have an apology expected or a who's sorry now?
I don't. And so I'm just going to say I'll have to take a pass. The second one in history. The second one in my history. I will be.
Well, I've taken at least one pass, so I believe. So we're doing fine. We've had over 100 episodes, and that's a lot of apologies expected or who's sorry now.
I know, and they just keep coming. I really thought that
have one next week.
After 50, people would be like, "Holy shit! There's this podcast called Apologies Accepted. We better stop fucking up." We don't want to appear on their show, but here's Balenciaga. Good going, guys. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. That's it for us this week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a great week, and we'll be back before Christmas. So this is not our final Christmas episode. We'll probably have another Christmas episode.
No. There's Christmas.
It's Christmas. So thanks, everyone. Stay cool, cucumbers. We love you. Bye. Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.